Hey, guy who's been playing this game for 14 years. How'd you do round one? Oh, I won. Wait, why are you not happy about winning your match? 'Cause I won using the overly sacky deck that I chose of my own free will. Huh? I'm sick of it, man! I'm sick of how bad this game's gotten with all the Cosmos and the Monarchs and summoning out huge 3000 beaters, man! I missed the day when I summoned my Blue Eyes White Dragon, man! And took my opponent out that way, man! Wait, isn't that still basically being sacky, just making it longer and more painful and more drawn out for your opponent? No, it's not, man! It's true Yu-Gi-Oh, man! It's true fictional game based on a fictional TV show, man! Oh boy. Okay, so if you couldn't tell from my little intro over there, one of my most annoying problems I have with this game are people who are just never happy with the format. I'm not saying there isn't problems with this format, some very big ones this current time in our Yu-Gi-Oh history, but I just can't stand it when people are like, oh, this deck, like, Cosmos are garbage. You want to know what I miss? Back in the day when, like, Mermails and X-Sabers and all of those decks, remember those decks? Well, as someone who came in to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Around the time decks like X-Sabers were being strong, I can honestly say that those decks don't make me happy. But fortunately, that was my little rant on that issue. Konami today has came out with what I think is a stellar idea. May take a little working out, has a couple bugs, but I think it is a great idea. You can check this out for yourself. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has introduced the Generation Duel Tournament. Now, again, this is fairly new. Maybe you haven't heard about it. As usual, Konami barely markets this. But this is a new format style that, instead of just basing around current meta, is actually based around the metas of all 5 different eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! And when I first heard this idea, I thought, what? What does that even mean? And then I read it, I'm like, this is a great idea. So what is the basic idea to this? So the idea to this tournament style is that you pick your era, either the original, GX, 5Ds, Zale, or Arc 5. And first up, I love how in the thing they actually acknowledge the shows as anime, as opposed to the usual, we just want to pretend America made this and don't even want to acknowledge the Japanese are involved or quality or anything. You know, that's a rant for another day. And basically the way these works, these will be standard normal Swiss tournaments, you know, rounds will depend on how many people, all that good stuff, where basically you are put in a forbidden ban list that exclusively only allows for decks from these eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! To be functional. And that, to me, is a genius idea. People constantly complain about how much they miss old formats. Well, now, this gives you a competitive tournament section to relive the glory days. Yeah, it's going to get a little repetitive seeing the same decks over and over again. But hey, who's to say if this succeeds, maybe they'll put out booster sets for these formats, like a 5D style synchro booster thing or a pure Xy's type thing. I mean, the options are endless if this works out. And after I heard that the school tournament thing at YCS Providence actually did fairly well considering what they were expecting, I think there's a lot of potential here for some lot of great ideas, especially because each ban list gives you a little bit of what you wanted. Did you like that traditional, just normal monsters battling out of the original? You got it. You want fusions? You got it. Synchros, Xy's, pendulums, everything about this to me is just such a great idea. Now, the thing is that, though, there are a couple issues. Again, the main goal is to let you play in the area of Yu-Gi-Oh! You like best, or if you weren't there for a competitive era, you can give it a try. I was not there for the GX competitive thing. I didn't get involved into the competitive until the second half of the 5Ds era. So now I can try out that GX format while still bringing in some flavor to it. Now, there are a couple of problems here, and they aren't, keep in mind, every issue I'm about to say I have is not necessarily based on what has happened. It's based on little cracks and things, but again, this was just announced today. It can be any sort of problem they'll work on as it comes. This is just my sort of negative reactions. Okay, not really even negative, but these are how I see it based on it. The first and foremost thing is I'm a little confused in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Section when they said that all other effect monsters are banned. So, does that mean that you couldn't use, say, KURIBOH? Or what's another good example? Fuck, there are so many bad effect monsters. But basically, like, you kind of get what I'm saying here. Are you only limited to the effect monsters they say you can use? Like, obviously, these are the more flashy things from that era, but can you use those other things, you know, things from that era? Is it purely that era? You can't use fusions from that era, which I think is sort of strange. You can't use, okay, obviously there were night pendulums, but the other strange thing is that none of the formats you can use ritual monsters. That I find very bizarre, especially because in the original Yu-Gi-Oh, we all loved Magician of Black Chaos, we all loved Lackluster Soldier, Crab Turtle, because I pulled that thing like every damn pack I opened of that set. You can't use any of that stuff, which I find to be a little bizarre. Also, some other banned cards, like, I don't know why they had to make a big deal that One Day of Peace is banned. If it were up to me, I would have said that you can only use cards released from these dates. Like, from when Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon came out to Soul of the Duelist, or whatever the last set for that era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was. Instead, they go through specific things. So, are there, like, wackadoo combos you could do with modern day stuff? I don't know, that stands to be seen. But the ritual thing is my main sort of thing, especially because, like, back in the day, or at least this is how it was when I was a kid, you teched in a BLS, you teched in a Magician of Black Chaos. If you had too many high-level monsters in your hand, you had an option for getting rid of them. It's not like nowadays where everything has an effect that helps you deal with brick hands. You had no choice. The other things that are a little concerning, in GX, we finally get Stratos back. He is at 3. And Disc Commander is also here. The thing is about both these cards is they're both very... Here's the thing, Stratos should not be banned, but I think at 3 it's a little too much. Too many crazy options, too many crazy combos. I'm afraid that at 3 it means the GX format will be nothing but hero players, and that does worry me a bit. Also, Disc Commander's draw combos I think are a little too insane. Again, we can iron this out, we can work on it, but you can only use fusions, so I feel like you're almost limiting it to heroes, as I don't really remember what would technically work meta, maybe Ancient Gears, I just don't know. 5Ds and Zale are basically the same format. In 5Ds, you get Brio back. You can use Trish, I think, at 3. I'm going back to my Quick Draw Dandy Warrior. My big question is, can you use Quasar? Or Cypher Divine Dragon, as there are some nutball combos with those going around. Same thing with Red Dragon Archfiend, so that could be a little worry. Zale, Shockmaster's back, so you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially with Gears. So that's kind of neat. And Arc 5 is just sort of normal. I'm not really even sure why you would even have that one if it's just going to be a normal format. And the prize, as of right now, again, I'm still waiting for the day where we get money prizes, but the mats we get do look pretty sweet. They got characters from all the different animes. I think it's weird the Arc 5 one doesn't really have more than just 4, and I don't know why Merrick is on the Yu-Gi-Oh! One, but it's fine. Like, again, this is a work in progress. This is a new idea. I love that Konami is starting this up. I think it's a great direction to go for older players or newer players who just want to see Yu-Gi-Oh's olden days. I think it's a great idea, but what do you think? Tell me that in the comments section below. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, and maybe I can start uploading some deck profiles for the things I would bring for these tournaments. Granted, I also said I was going to do Keys I Never vlogs and never got to that, so follow all that with a grain of salt.